Out of thousands of corners over the last couple of decades, the subject of today's video had a top 10 score of all time. The RAS is the raw athletic score, which basically combines every physical factor of a prospect and gives them a grade out of 10. The subject of today's video got a 9.99 out of 10. That is how unbelievably athletic this player is, and he has a chance to be one of the next great NFL corners. He has seen his stock catch fire over the last few months and was recently taken in the second round of the 2023 NFL Draft by the Indianapolis Colts. The player we are talking about today is Julius Brents. Right now, he's one of the most under-talked about players that was drafted this year, and he truly has unlimited potential for the Indianapolis Colts. What's even better is he's a hometown kid, and at one point, his career looked over. He went from Iowa to Kansas State, and went from an unheralded prospect to a second-round pick in just a matter of months. In today's video, we're going to tell the inspiring story of Julius Brents. We're going to go through how he became a big-time player to begin with, his crazy college career, the insane tragedy he had to overcome, and why this freakishly athletic player is such a steal for the Colts. But before we get started, be sure to leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you love college football content, let me know what player, topic, team, or situation I can cover next, and turn on post notifications so you never miss when I upload. Now, let's talk about the insane rise of Julius Brents. In order to understand how Brents got to this point, let's first go back in time. Growing up in Indianapolis, Brents idolized one certain player. It was former Colts safety Bob Sanders. As someone who grew up in Indianapolis myself, I loved watching Sanders as a kid as well, so I don't blame him. When he was in Indianapolis for the Combine a couple weeks ago, he said, quote, "I've been playing football, tackle football at that, since I was 6 years old. Now actually being in these footsteps, being in this area, it's indescribable. This is something I've been planning for a very long time and for all my life." Julius was a football star. He hasn't always been the athlete he is today. At one point, he was just a lanky freshman nicknamed Bambi, which is a Disney classic about a young deer coming into his own. That was one way of describing him, I guess. Former Warren Central head coach Jason West remembers the promising chatter and excitement amongst his staff when they saw the tall and skinny freshman. They said he wasn't a nail, he was instead a hammer. Luckily, Warren had plenty of talent on the roster, and future Purdue and NFL wide receiver David Bell always challenged him every single day in practice. Eventually, Brents would become a 4-star recruit, and one school in particular would stand out to him. He said, "Coach Kirk Ferentz has done a great job recruiting me. I just get a pretty good vibe when I'm up in Iowa, and I like what they have been doing lately on defense. I think they're going to turn the program around, and they're probably one of my favorites right now." This is what would end up happening, as he would join both Tyrone Tracy and DJ Johnson as other Indianapolis kids to become Hawkeyes. Justin Britt also would later on. Brents committed to Iowa in September of 2017 over offers from Michigan State, Indiana, NC State, and Louisville, and while he was later bumped down to a 3-star recruit, everyone knew him, saw a lot of potential. Warren's head coach knew that Brents would one day reach football's biggest stage. He said, quote, "Bambi turned into a buck. We knew he was going to be a dog out there, and when he kept growing, it was like he was becoming a praying mantis. His body was so long, and he was going to take your head off." It seemed like everything was going really well for Brents, but before he could play college ball, tragedy would rock both Julius and the Warren Central community as a whole. A player by the name of Dijon Anderson was unfortunately shot and killed, and after a few-week fight in the hospital, he would pass away. Brents said, quote, "He was at the wrong place at the wrong time." Dijon wasn't alone. Another player on the football team was also unfortunately killed, but Dijon was the lifeblood of the Warren Central football team. He was a year older than Julius was and had earned a scholarship to play football at Southern Illinois. Warren head coach said, quote, "I've never seen anybody like him with that kind of energy. He's off the charts good, he was different, he was special, and he still is." This was really tough, and it really affected the whole Indianapolis community. Brent said, quote, "I'd say last year when it first happened, it seemed like the whole school shut down. I don't think we even had to go to class for a couple of days, and we were just there for each other." This was really tough on Julius, and was honestly probably part of the reason he wanted to leave Indianapolis for Iowa City. It would be a significant culture change, one that initially would make his mother bristle. The Hawkeyes offered Brents everything he wanted. It would offer him the chance to go to college away from violence. Quote, "We could wake up in the morning and hear gunshots and different things of that nature. When I turned the news on when I was in Iowa, I didn't hear that. I also think that made a difference on him," his mom said. Julius said he was just tired of being a part of funerals. Honestly, this is just really tragic to hear, and I vaguely remember this news story a couple years ago. He'd end up signing with the Hawkeyes and would get that new start that he so desperately wanted. Brents also wanted to be different on the football field. He said, "My versatility is what sets me apart from others, and you can plug me in whenever necessary, and I will make it happen." He was a hidden gem in the 2018 class, and according to 24/7 Sports, he was a high 3-star recruit, the number 30 safety, and the 439th best player in the class of 2018. Motivated by tragedy, how would Brents end up doing in Iowa City? Let's take a look. When Brents would arrive at Iowa, there was a lot of potential. He ended up actually playing right away, as he was in the starting lineup for a 5-game stretch as a true freshman in 2018. He played against Minnesota, Indiana, Maryland, Penn State, and Purdue, and 4 of those were road games. His first 2 games were actually pretty insane, as PFF compared Brents to all their Power 5 corners, and apparently he allowed the second fewest yards per coverage, and was second to only Michigan's David Long. Brents was one of the top young corners in college football, and for his freshman year, he finished with 13 tackles with 1 interception. In 2020, things were kind of rough, as he only ended up finishing with 4 tackles and 1 pass deflection. Why was this? Well, he dealt with a knee injury in fall camp, and that would linger into the season. He ended up missing Iowa's first 4 games and would make his sophomore debut on the road against Michigan, but didn't even record a stat in that one, and then pretty much battled a knee injury for the rest of the year, and finally decided to call it quit. Going into the 2021 season, Brents decided it was time for a change of pace. Either he was falling behind on the depth chart, or just wanted to go somewhere new, and either way, he decided to move across the country to Kansas and go play for Kansas State. Immediately, Brents would make an impact, as he would come in and play a decent role. In 2021, he finished with 49 tackles, 2 pass deflections, and 1 interception. Brents was a decent Power 5 starter, but by no means was he on the NFL radar. In 2022 though, but he'd have a pretty good season. He ended up finishing with 45 tackles, 4 pass deflections, a forced fumble, and 4 interceptions. Brents would end up starting 27 games in a K-State uniform, recording 94 total tackles and 5 interceptions. Because of this, he ended up becoming an All-Big 12 first-team selection and an All-Big 12 second-team selection according to the AP. He declared for the 2023 NFL Draft, and many saw him as a Day 2 to Day 3 pick, except he would start to blow up. He got an invite to the Combine and performed really well. Then he had that insane RAS score in which he was a top 10 corner of all time in terms of his athleticism. He had the longest wingspan for a corner in NFL Combine history and had a 9.99 score out of 10. Scouts said, quote, "Physically though, he is a rare defensive back with speed, size, burst, and length. He just needs to work on everything else." Basically what they're saying is that he has an unlimited ceiling on the football field and he'll just need the proper coaching staff to develop him. Brents was watching Day 2 of the 2023 NFL Draft up in Westfield, which is a suburb of Indianapolis, when a 317 number would flash across his phone. He said, quote, "I was just hoping nobody was prank calling me." Well, it wasn't a prank call. The local Indianapolis Colts decided to take him in the 2nd round with the 44th overall pick. This had to be a dream come true for him, and I cannot even imagine how excited he was. After being drafted by the hometown Colts, he said, quote, "Probably no better story than this. Now just being able to put on that same horseshoe, it's nothing short of a blessing. It's crazy, but I know this is just the start of the journey, and I'm ready to get to work." So yeah, the Colts ended up drafting Brents in the 2nd round, and as a Colts fan myself, big fan of Indianapolis recruiting, this was an awesome selection, and I'm super excited for him. Chris Ballard always seemingly loved those style of corners, and I think Brents has unlimited potential in this defense. He could end up being a major bust or one of the league's best players. Maybe he'll be the next Bob Sanders, maybe he'll be the next D. Milner. I have no idea, but what do you guys think? If you're a Colts, Kansas State, or Iowa fan, what do you think of Julius Brents? What do you think of his story? And who's another player from the 2023 NFL Draft I can cover next? Be sure to let me know down below, leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.